Welcome in to another Sports with Schu mock draft, full first round. Um, Mainly going to be what I would do. There are a handful of teams that I really struggled with, um, just because it's so clear where they are as a franchise, especially their head coaches and GMs are very much on the hot seat. So what I would do might be very different from what they would do, or I was possibly swayed by what kind of has to happen. Um, and then in the comments, just let me know if you are a fan of a team other than the Chargers. Um, if I could reach out to you, or you could reach out to me, and I could just connect with you because I want to build sort of a network of fans from each team just so that I have somebody to bounce ideas off of and get a feel for where their fans have reached consensus kind of on who they want to draft, who they like in the draft, where they are as a roster. Because some of these teams, I can look at where they want free agency, look at the state of their roster, but I'm not gonna know every single position, like the history of each position, each player, and their contracts and stuff. So just let me know in the comments down below, or you can DM me on Twitter or Instagram. Honestly, if you are a fan of a team other than the Chargers, just because I would consider myself kind of an expert on the Chargers, if I could reach out to you about just draft stuff and your team in general, that would be lovely. But getting into my second mock draft, this is the first post free agency mock draft, so a lot of things have changed, but not a lot of picks at the top have changed. Most picks in the mock draft have changed from my last one. But starting at number one overall, Aiden Hutchinson, best player available, impact position, poor roster overall, and he would be the leader of the defense for years to come, hopefully. I would trade down, honestly, if I could, but I don't really think anybody would want to come up for the number one overall pick this year. Um, you guys made Jags made a lot of moves in free agency, but none that really moved the needle. And Aiden Hutchinson, pretty consensus, pretty clear, safe, yet still has high upside, so like high floor, still has a pretty high ceiling for an edge prospect. There are some edge defenders in this class who do have a higher ceiling, I would say, but Jags, you guys just really can't afford to miss again for another first round pick. I like Trevor Lawrence, obviously, but you guys need a leader on the defensive side of the ball. You guys kind of got Trevor some weapons, some help, franchise tag Cam Robinson as well. But if it was me, I would go Aiden Hutchinson pretty clearly as well. At number two, the Lions. I have them going Kayvon Thibodeau. Yet again, impact position. Honestly, not a bad roster anymore. There are some pieces on defense, a pretty good O line. Could use some more impact receivers, but this is too rich for any receiver in this class at pick number two. But Kayvon brings you that blue chip piece rushing off the edge alongside the Aquaras, who are both taking pretty big strides into becoming just solid edge players they were last year. And then I would just push QB to next year, or at least a high end QB. You guys may or may not go QB with pick 32. Who knows? You might just have to If you're a Lions fan, skip ahead and see. But next year's class looks pretty loaded, and this is a pretty decent roster. So at pick number 2, I wouldn't overdraft or be too confident in my evaluation of this quarterback class to take one at pick number 2. So Kayvon Thibodeau just brings you, like I said, that blue chip guy off the edge, where I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a leader of the defense, but I think that the Jags need that more than the Lions do. And like it even says here, edge is still a need, even though I do like the Aguaras. Similar to the Jags, really a lot of times in this draft, there are a lot of teams who I wanted to trade down, and I just don't know who would be willing to come up, honestly. So pick number 2, Kayvon Thibodeau. Pick number 3, once again, want to trade down with the Texans, and like PFF says, every single position, entire roster needs an overhaul. But Neal, to me, just seems like the best place to start. Franchise left tackle. Great all-around player as well, athletic freak, and you need to start just building something, preferably on offense, in my opinion, just for David Mills isn't going to be that guy, in my opinion. But just start building something on offense. That was fucking nasty. I don't know if you guys could see that. For whoever that future franchise QB is, probably somebody next year, a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, a Spencer Rattler if he makes a huge bounce back, DJ Ungalele, whatever his name is, that kid from, I don't know if he goes to Miami, Tyler Van, I don't know, I don't remember. Point is, Texans, you guys need every single position, but I would start with the offense, more specifically the offensive line, get something started so that next year, hopefully next year, you guys can get a better QB in there and he has something to work with and he's not thrown straight into the fire. Jets, I wanted to commit 100%, not throughout the whole draft, but these first 2 picks just to offense, because that's going to be a theme throughout most of this mock draft, is just seeing if the quarterback that you currently have is that guy that you want, that franchise QB that you think he might be. Yeah, it's definitely a theme throughout this draft, just because that's such a valuable thing to have as a franchise. Staying in that middle area of, I guess Jalen Hurts is still young enough where it's, you don't know, but staying in the, I mean, Derek Carr-ish areas of the NFL, the now Matt Ryan's area of, like, is he good enough to actually elevate a roster around him, making as much money as he does? So basically finding out whether your quarterback is top 10, is what you thought he might be when you drafted him, like Zach Wilson, that is incredibly valuable. So I wanted to go offense with both of the top 10 picks, but the O-line doesn't look bad. Jets fans, let me know if it is actually bad. I know Mekhi Becton was hurt a lot last year, and you could draft somebody and kick them inside maybe, but I guess you guys did just lose Morgan Moses, but I want to say that you guys had another player who wasn't bad at right tackle. I don't remember, but I have you guys taking Derek Stingley. He is a true island corner, and I just put out the Derek Stingley, my prospect breakdown on him. So if you guys want to hear more, you guys can go check that out. I still go offense later, but I couldn't see it at pick number 4. And then DJ Reed, Bryce Hall, and Derek Stingley. That's a very solid corner group, and you guys could kind of build around that as a defense. I still want to see if Zach Wilson is that guy, but I think that you guys can accomplish that by still going defense at pick number 4, who is Mr. Derek Stingley. Giants, Daniel Jones. Last year, throw everything at him. If he's still not good, move on. Please. Daniel, that's who I should have used as an example. Like, is Daniel Jones the guy, or isn't he? In my opinion, he's never looked like the guy at all. Never looked like a top 10 quarterback. But they have some pretty decent weapons on offense. A solid top 4 wide receivers. If I can remember, yeah, because you guys got Tony last year too in the draft. So it's not like Daniel Jones doesn't have weapons. You guys were hurt last year, or your receivers were, if I could remember correctly. But O-line, not great. So I have you guys going Ike Ekwonu at pick number 5. Just like I said, no more excuses for Daniel Jones. Is he the guy or isn't he the guy? Pick number 6. I still have some receivers, but the O-line isn't great. You guys have pieces on defense with no other picks in the top 100. That's what I didn't realize until, I don't know, I started thinking about it from like the Jags perspective and seeing how many picks they have. This is their only pick in the top 100. I think they have to take a shot. This is one of the situations where I think this is also kind of what they have to do. So I have them going Malik Willis. He has huge upside. So if he shows absolutely anything, you guys have receivers, do need to build up the O-line, but he's a mobile quarterback, go to runner. He'll survive this year. And if he shows absolute anything, then you can just build up around him. If he shows absolutely nothing, then you guys can just go QB next year, because that would probably mean that you guys are picking in the top of the draft again. Yeah, this is honestly kind of what the Panthers have to do. You guys just can't roll into next year with Sam Darnold as your quarterback. One, every single person in that front office and coaching staff would just be out the door pretty soon into the year. But if they get Malik Willis, it's at least a question, at least a discussion at that point. Definitely doesn't mean that it will save their jobs. It didn't save Anthony Lynn's job. It didn't save Matt Nagy's job in Chicago and Anthony Lynn with the Chargers. But it will at least make it a discussion instead of everybody saw it coming. So I have the Panthers going Malik Willis at pick number 6. And then at pick 7, I think the wide receiver group is good enough to tell whether or not Daniel Jones sucks or not. And so similar to Zach Wilson, like, I want to go offense, and that's still the idea of I want to see if they're the guy or not. But with the Giants, I address the O-line. I personally think that the receiving core that they have If you can't look good and make that offense look good and run well with that receiving core, then I just don't think you're the guy, because there may come a time when you're asked to win games with a lot less in that wide receiver room. Tom Brady in his last couple years, like, still producing with not great receivers. That's a horrible example. I just compared Daniel Jones to Tom Brady, but you get the idea. Like, I think that it's at least at that point where if he's actually top 10 quarterback, you got to start seeing it even with that wide receiver room. So I have the Giants going with Mr. Trayvon Walker, possibly the highest upside of any player in this class. Unbelievably freaky athlete. You guys have a need at edge. Honestly, a lot of needs on defense in general, and I could stand to address the O-line a little bit more too, but at pick 5 and 7, I don't think so. Like, Ike Ekwonu and Andrew Thomas as your tackles, you guys should be able to piece some stuff together between those two. So I have the Giants going Trayvon Walker at pick 7. Pick 8, this roster's not even remotely close to competing. Yes, they need receivers desperately, but this team will not win games even if they did get receivers. I have them going Kyle Hamilton. I know that a safety won't help them win games either next year, or like won't push them over the edge into contention, but he is the best player available and gives you a leader on the defense for years to come, as well as a chess piece. And then I would say that you guys should just address QB in next year's draft and spend 2 to 3 years just getting talent, because this roster is nowhere near ready. You guys have AJ Terrell, and Kyle Pitts, and that's about it. Grady Jarrett, but he's pretty overpaid, I think. Yeah, this roster is just horrible. So Kyle Hamilton, best player available, insanely talented, chess piece, something to build your defense around, similar to what the Chargers have done with Derwin James. And then with later picks and picks next year, free agency, that's when you need to start putting some talent, some wide receivers, some an O-line in front of whatever quarterback you guys end up drafting next year. But I have the Falcons going with Kyle Hamilton. And then at pick number 9, we have our first trade. So let's do this once again. They're even a recommended team. So I have the Seahawks receiving Mr. Laramie Tunsil, without a doubt, on the trade block. And pick 183 for pick 72. Yeah. Okay. And it went through. Good. So Seahawks have Pete Carroll, wide receivers, but not much else. Not a great O-line, not a great defense. In my opinion, a roster that's not ready to compete, and after talking to some Seahawks fans, that probably sounds like cancer on the mic, but after talking to some Seahawks fans, they know that this roster isn't ready to compete, but I think that they want to at least streamline the process and not go full tank just because they still have Pete Carroll. He's super old, but a great coach. So they want to start that process pretty quickly. Getting Laramie Tunsil for relatively cheap. Texans are just they just need to get as many top 100 picks as they can possibly get. And then I have the Seahawks drafting Sam Howell at pick number 9. I really like Sam Howell. I need to cough and drink water. Hopefully that can last me through the rest of the first round. Pete Carroll won't be around much longer. Roster's not great. There are receivers for Sam Howell to work with. And when he had receivers and guys around him at North Carolina, he looked like a top 5 pick. And he's also very young and early in that progression as a quarterback. A lot of these other quarterbacks are 4th or 5th years. Sorry about that probably poor edit to future Jameson. I just had to go get water. Houston won't be competitive while Laramie Tunsil's still there. And like I said, they just need to accumulate as many picks as possible. Sam Howell, with Laramie Tunsil and the receivers that they have, at least, like I said, sort of kickstart that rebuild a little bit so that you can get a base started while Pete Carroll's still in the building, which is what I think they want to do. And Sam Howell, I think, is one of the more underrated players in this draft. One of the more underrated quarterbacks in this class. He doesn't have the best deep accuracy after watching his tape. Accuracy in general wasn't amazing, but he has a very good arm, very good runner. And his accuracy is still better than some other guys in this class. And he's looked very, very good in college at a very young age, which is always promising. At pick number 10, sprint the card situation. Drake London, good wide receiving core. Let's see what Zach Wilson can do. You guys have Elijah Moore. Corey Davis can be that wide receiver 2. Drake London, wide receiver 1. Year 2 of Zach Wilson. This will let you guys see if he is or isn't the guy. Yet another trade at pick 11. We have the Commanders receiving sorry about this. I'm blind. Not actually. Oh, they're right there. Receiving Brandon Cooks and pick 80 for pick 47. All right, we're going to force that trade above 50%. Force trade. That gives Carson, this wide receiving core already isn't poor by any means. Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, Shy Smith. Was that his name from last year? I don't remember. But with the addition of Brandon Cooks, this is a very good complementary wide receiving core as well as deep. And Carson Wentz has literally only looked good when he's had very, very good receivers, very good options at receiver. Houston has an insane amount of high draft picks, and if any Texans fan loves the draft, I mean, you kind of have to at this point because it's your guys' only hope and only thing to do for the next year, maybe two. But it's a very fun time to be a Houston Texans fan if you love the draft, just because, I don't know, it's like a kid in candy shop. You guys have a lot of high picks, and you guys are getting another one here. And then I have the Commanders going with Sauce Gardner. If they get top end play out of Carson Wentz, this team could honestly be very, very good. Like, if MVP Wentz returns with a pretty good receiving core, pretty good O-line, unbelievable D-line, you guys could use some better linebackers, but if Jamin Davis progresses, your secondary does need some work, but that's why I have you guys taking Ahmad Sauce Gardner. I can't get, there we go. Sauce Gardner to play along William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, I think you guys have as well. Benjamin St. Juste. I feel like you guys have one other corner that I'm forgetting. I don't know, but your defense was supposed to be very good last year. Adding Sauce will help it possibly look like that again, and just getting Chase Young back. And like I said, if you guys get top end play out of Carson Wentz, not being sarcastic, actually watch out for the Commanders. Pick number 12. Vikings have some holes on the roster. Really wanted to trade down here, but just couldn't find anybody willing to do it. And this cornerback group is horrible. Horrible. So I have them going Trent McDuffie. I mean, Vikings somewhat ready to compete, kind of. Have always, not always, but been stuck in that middle area that I was talking about for a while, but it's a weak NFC. Add talent. Kirk has some decent receivers, decent weapons on offense. Could possibly address that O-line, but it's a little bit rich for interior O-line, in my opinion, at pick 12. McDuffie, great player. I know that you guys have missed on a lot of first-round corners lately, but that doesn't mean that you should stop trying. If anything, it just means that you guys still probably have a need there. Pick 13. This was, honestly, if I was a Texans fan, I would love this mock draft. I have the Texans going Charles Cross, taking advantage of a falling player. So you guys would have Evan Neal and Charles Cross, and that is just a very fun way to start a rebuild, in my opinion, because these are sort of the first two picks of the official rebuild post Deshaun Watson. And just having bookend quality tackles right away, that's just a great way to start a rebuild, because you can sign some veterans or just build 100% through the draft. Honestly, just draft some guards, interior offensive linemen later in the draft this year or next. Get one of the top QBs next year, and then just give them some receivers, slowly build up the defense. But getting Evan Neal and Charles Cross, that's appetizing to me personally. If I was a Houston Texans fan. Pick number 14. This one, not necessarily a sprint the card in situation, but a great fit, and what I think that they would do if he was there. I have the Ravens going with George Karlaftis, losing a lot of guys in the front seven, and you guys could just take advantage of a falling player like George Karlaftis. Biggest thing here, even I think George Karlaftis is just he's being underrated right now because I think that he has inside-outside versatility. Um, if you guys have great edge defenders, then just have him gain 10 pounds and play interior D-line for the first year or two until you guys have a need at edge, then have him lose 10 or 15 and kick him outside. He has insane power. Actually, something came out today that he ran like a 4.77. Or no. I don't remember. It might have been like 4.7 or 4.7 flat. I don't know. On Twitter. Point is, George Karlaftis, insane power in his lower half, in his hands. He has inside-outside versatility, which the Ravens kind of need. You guys kind of just need to restock the defense a little bit. Still have a decent secondary. You guys were bent over by injuries last year, so hopefully you guys got some positive regression from that. But George Karlaftis just adds a piece to that seemingly always dangerous Ravens defense. Pick number 15. I have the Eagles going with Jameson Williams, which hurts as a Chargers fan. I would love to see him with the Chargers. But you guys have a good O-line, and like I've been saying, you need to see what Hurts can do. Garrett Wilson's skill set just felt a little bit repetitive here with Devonta Smith, Jalen Reagor. It's close to giving up on Jalen Reagor, but Jameson Williams giving Hurts a legitimate deep threat, continuing to add weapons, which I think at least one of these picks should go towards the offense and helping Jalen Hurts. Plus Devonta Smith, Jameson Williams, that's a good wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 for whoever the quarterback ends up being of the Philadelphia Eagles. Pick 16. I do have a video specifically saying how Jordan Davis should not be a first-round pick. That was before his unbelievably freaky combine. But with 3 first-round picks, I think that the Eagles can afford it. Somewhat low position of value, but he has an incredibly rare frame and potential. Plus, I feel better about the best linebacker in the class or Jermaine Johnson being there at pick 19 than a guy like Jordan Davis, just because even though I don't want the Chargers to take Jordan Davis, I could see the Chargers taking Jordan Davis or the Saints at pick 18. So I have the Eagles going with Jordan Davis at pick 16 just because some of their other needs, I would feel better if I were them about those guys reaching to pick 19 than Davis. And then the Chargers pick. I was torn on this one for a very, very long time as to whether or not I could see a team coming up to try and draft a quarterback. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in seemingly forever. And I didn't want to force a trade. I don't think that the Saints will personally go QB, but that being said, even if I don't think that the Saints will go QB at pick 18, the Steelers don't know that. They have a good roster, and I do have them going. Yeah, it's even recommended. Yet again, it seemingly always is. 64% chance, pretty fair. Offer trade. So I do have the Steelers moving up with the Chargers to leapfrog the Saints and take Kenny Pickett. Like I said, with the re-signing of Jameis and just being around a lot of Saints fans, I think that they have enough faith in Jameis that he is their guy. But I don't know if that's the consensus with all fans, and especially with the NFL teams, that the Saints have their guy. And even like PFF says, Saints needs number one QB. So I could see the Steelers liking a guy like Kenny Pickett, relatively pro-ready, from Pittsburgh, local guy. And Mike Tomlin's just such a good coach. Like he's going to put Kenny Pickett in a situation to succeed. This is a good overall roster as well, and I don't see Mike Tomlin not having another 500 to above 500 season. And then at pick 18, I have the Saints going Garrett Wilson, which is honestly a sprint the card in situation. Like I said, I think they like Jameson and want to push the cap. It seems like murder that's coming for them. One more year into the future before they might have to blow it up. They need a receiver big time, and one of the top receivers in the draft is slipping. And Garrett Wilson kind of has a do everything skill set. So no matter how the Saints want to use him, no matter what form of Garrett Wilson complements Jameis the best, I just really like that fit for the Saints. Pick 19, the Eagles. I have them going Jermaine Johnson. It's their number one need. He's a talented player at a valuable position, and it would serve them well to start replenishing that D-line a little bit, which is very, very depleted. David Ojabo, I just have slipping probably into the second round. I thought about Devonta Wyatt here, but I like Jermaine Johnson to the Eagles a little bit more. Who's your guys's? Fletcher Cox is coming back. Definitely a shell of himself, but he is still there. So personally, between those two, I would lean Jermaine Johnson, between Devonta Wyatt and Jermaine Johnson for the Eagles. And then I was so torn once again on the Chargers pick. I was torn between Bernard Raymond and Trevor Penning, just because as of today, if the Chargers don't address right tackle, they're almost boxed into needing a right tackle in the draft. And I ended up leaning Bernard Raymond. He's a better pass protector from day one, and he's so new to the game and to the position that he could have a huge ceiling. He's a converted tight end. Great movement skills. Still good in pass protection. Not a super dominant run blocker, which is normally what you want at the right tackle position. But Herbert passing the ball 50 times a game and the Chargers dropping back every play. I don't hate the look of that. Plus, Bernard Raymond could still develop into a pretty good run blocking right tackle. And like I said, if the Chargers don't address right tackle in the rest of free agency, they almost have to go right tackle in the draft. And I just don't think I see Trey Pipkins or Storm Norton being the starter day one for them next year. So I have the Chargers going Bernard Raymond. Patriots, somewhat obvious pick. I have them going Chris Olave. Extremely depleted defense. But I think that you guys just need to give Max some weapons on offense to help with his progression. I mean, you guys are still going to end up being a good team just because you have Bill Belichick, but a lot of positions could serve you well. But I think Chris Olave would be the best option here just because you have a second-year quarterback. You can't just trot him out there with the receivers in the offense that you currently have. Chris Olave, I also think, fits with Mac Jones' skill set really well too. A separator. Mac Jones, a guy who can hit a separator in those windows. Very accurate. And as a little bit of deep threat. A little bit. Not much after the catch, but kind of a deep threat. Pick 22. Trevor Penning. You guys need to give Rodgers as much to work with on offense as possible. Defense, honestly, I was pretty surprised at how solid the Packers defense looked. Very well-rounded. I think could be a top, for sure, 10 unit next year. But you guys need to keep your O-line as a strength. So I have these Packers going Trevor Penning. Yes, you guys need receivers, but the guy that I have them taking, I'm pretty confident would still be there with their next pick. Pick 23. This O-line just needs big-time upgrades. So does the D-line and secondary. And honestly, you guys could use another pass catcher. But I have you guys going Tyler Linderbaum. One of the most talented players in this class. One of the most surefire prospects in this class. But you guys just need to make sure that Kyler Murray doesn't get obliterated, destroyed next year. This Cardinals roster slowly kind of went to shit. And I would personally start with building up that O-line to protect Kyler Murray a little bit, possibly for years to come if he stays in Arizona. Pick number 24. Your guys' interior D-line is horrible. This is one of the best fits in the draft, in my opinion. I have the Cowboys going Devonta Wyatt. I thought about Booth or Lloyd here, but Wyatt would be a day one, very known upgrade. Your guys' secondary could still use some work, but you guys were pretty bad against the run last year, if I remember correctly. And Devonta Wyatt could definitely add a lot to that D-line. Devin Lloyd, you guys did just re-sign Leighton Vander Esch, and technically Micah Parsons does still kind of play linebacker. So it wouldn't be redundant necessarily, but I just see Devonta Wyatt moving the needle a little bit more for the Cowboys. Pick 25. I have the Bills going with Treylon Burks. I'm not high on Treylon Burks, but I think that Treylon Burks added to this receiving core with Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, I think that would be a very well complemented room. Defense is very solid. And I feel like I just heard a lot last year about whether it was the media or the fans just complaining about how much the Bills passed and how much was on Josh Allen's shoulders. And even if that is the case, getting a guy like Treylon Burks, he can help add to the run game and the sort of extended run game with just quick screens, getting the ball in his hands, less reads, less pressure on Josh Allen, kind of. He's a talented player. I like his tape still, but I'm a little bit lower on him than most people are. Some people still have him as a wide receiver one. I don't really understand that. But this group would also be one of the most complementary wide receiving groups in the NFL, in my opinion, with Treylon Burks, Stephon Diggs, and Gabriel Davis. Plus more weapons for Josh Allen. Never a bad thing. Titans, I was very close to going Zion Johnson here, but I ended up going Devin Lloyd. The secondary is very decent, honestly, with Fulton, Caleb Farley, and Elijah Molden. There are some pieces on D-line, decent weapons, honestly. The O-line could use some interior guys, but Lloyd is falling a little bit. And he would be just a very good leader, a very good guy in the interior linebacking group. Inside linebacker, not interior, inside linebacker group. Definitely Lloyd over Dean too, but Titans roster overall, honestly, not that bad. I was really torn between Zion Johnson and Devin Lloyd here, though. So, Titans fans, if there are any watching, let me know what you would rather have, Devin Lloyd or Zion Johnson. And then I didn't do that on purpose, but this would almost be a sprint the garden situation as well for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Keep Tom Brady upright. You guys have a good chance of winning championship. And there's like one more hole left to fill on this O-line. Zion Johnson, day one, very safe. He's going to be a good guard. Pick 28, I have the Green Bay Packers going with Mr. Skye Moore. Huge need at receiver. And honestly, I like Moore as a fit with Rodgers more than Burks. He's a separator who's still a plus athlete. And I just think that his skill set and the way that he plays is more conducive to a successful offense with Aaron Rodgers compared to Treylon Burks. Obviously, I think Rodgers would still like to have Burks in addition to. But if given the choice one or the other, I think Skye Moore is just a little bit better of a fit. Plus, just obviously huge, massive need. Chiefs. I mean, this is a pretty no-brainer pick as well. Kyer Elam, cornerback group is just garbage. Like garbage. I like Andrew Booth Jr. more personally than Kyer Elam. But I think Elam just fits better with the Chiefs, and you guys just need to go corner in the draft. And then pick 30, I also really wanted to trade out of this spot, but nobody's really falling other than Booth. And I don't know who would want to come up and go get him. So I have the Chiefs going with Ajabo. He's top 15 upside in this class, and he's only falling due to injury. Chiefs trading Hill shows that they're trying to build a team long term, instead of like winning just this year and going all in for just this year. And getting cheaper at the edge in the long term is how they plan to do it. Even if he like barely plays this year. So chasing upside at the edge while getting cheaper at the edge is what the Chiefs need to do. And like I said, the Tyreek Hill move kind of showed that they're not all in for this year. They're trying to actually build a good roster. So I have the Chiefs going with David Ajabo. Bengals have a good team. Really, really good team. This one, personally, again, another no-brainer. I have them going Andrew Booth, upgrade over Apple. Offense looks insane. Defense looks well-rounded. Just a couple of spots. But Andrew Booth to this defense, you guys already have Chidobe, Awuzie. Who's your other corner? I don't remember, but he was solid. Defense overall just honestly looks solid. Offense looks insane. Bengals did a very good job of building around a quarterback on a rookie contract, something that my Chargers are also trying to do right now. But Andrew Booth Jr. to the Bengals, very good fit. Bengals are going to be scary next year. Team that won't be scary next year, Detroit Lions. I almost went with Nakobe Dean, but I ultimately went with Desmond Ridder. You get that fifth-year option for the quarterback, and if Ridder doesn't play well year one, then like I said with I don't remember which team, but if he doesn't play well in year one, that probably means that you guys are going to be picking near the top again next year. So you can probably flip Ridder for, I don't know, a third-round pick or something next year, and then just take Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. If he does look promising, like pretty promising, then you guys still have that fifth-year option, that extra year on his contract. But he's going to be playing behind a decent O-line, and you guys kind of got a decent start with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who else did you guys sign? Not MVS. DJ Chart as well. So there are some guys on offense behind a very good O-line as well. Desmond Ridder, if he shows something year one, maybe stick with it. Maybe start to build something around him. If he shows nothing, pick at the top. Pick a great Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Tyler Van Dyke, I think is his name. He was in Elite 11 a couple of years ago, and he did look pretty good. But that's gonna do it for the first round. Let me actually make the pick. Desmond Ridder, analyzing your draft. That's gonna do it for this one. Like I said at the beginning of the video, let me know if any of you guys are interested in being sort of a resource for me in keeping me updated on your teams and giving me info on where you guys are as a roster, and where you guys want to go in the draft, sort of. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Let me know if you guys like the logo that I changed a couple weeks ago, honestly, at this point. I'm going to try and add an outro of sorts. And I am still working on improving the overall production quality of this channel. I know that will help. That's obviously not about just getting more views, but just improve the overall quality and experience of watching these videos. I think that's going to do it, though. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and I will see you guys in the next video.